Hello, Math 7 students. We are still working in Module 3, and we are now going to take a look at Lesson 6, which is Understanding Equations to Solve Them. And you can find that on page 87 of my comp book. So here is page 87. Understanding Equations to Solve Them. The goal. Today we will discuss what an equation is and how to use algebraic expressions to solve them. The question that I want you to be thinking about is, what model can you use to help you solve equations? So we're actually just going to jump right into this, and I have several little practice problems that we're going to work through, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you some new information kind of as an organization tool that will help you survive these problems. So decorating. You have two posters to hang in your room. The wall is 14 feet wide. Each poster is 4 feet wide. You want to space the posters evenly along the wall. Write an equation and solve for the distance. So we have this little diagram that I'm using to help us understand it. Here is the wall itself right here, and it is 14 feet wide. Here are the two posters right here, and they are both 4 feet wide on the posters. So the thing that I like to use, or what kind of model that I like to use, is using a drawing that helps support what you're seeing. The other thing that I like to do is I like to think of setting up an equation. And the equation is the total, which is 14 feet, the known information, which is two posters that are each 14 feet wide, and then the unknown is the space in between the posters, so that would be x, and there's 3 of them. So basically, if you can always set up this where you're finding the total, the known, and the unknown, then it's very easy to write an equation and then figure out what the answer would be. So if we have an equation, we know that we have this plus this equals this. And the way I like to set it up is I would say the total is always over here, right? The two posters that we have, which is 2 times 4 feet each, plus 3 times the unknown space. So if we look at our diagram, we have two posters, so that's why we did 2 times 4 feet each, and then we have 3 unknown spaces that we're trying to figure out. And so this right here would be the known, this right here would be the unknown, and then this right here, let's move the word total up here so we can keep the words together. So we have known plus unknown equals total, and we know the total is 14. And what you've just done is you've created an equation that is very easy to solve. So let's try it. What is 2 times 4? Well, we know 2 times 4 is 8, plus what's 3 times x? You are correct, 3x equals 14. Now we have an equation, and now we can use the build and undo chart that you guys already know how to use. So we have to figure out how it was built and how to unbuild it. So remember, we always start with a variable. So our variable is x. What math operation did we do first to x? We multiplied by 3. That's the first thing. And then the second thing we did is we added 8. So now to undo it, remember with the undo, you work backwards. So the opposite of adding 8 is subtracting 8. So we're undoing adding by subtracting. So we're subtracting 8. We're undoing multiplication by division. So we're dividing by 3. And then we'll be left with x. So we use the undo side to try it. So the first thing it tells us to do is subtract 8 from both sides. Very easy to do. This is a 0 pair. So what I have left on this side is 3x equals 14 minus 8 is 6. The next thing that it tells me to do is to divide both sides by 3. So I have 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I have 1x on this side, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I divide it, and now 1 times x is x. X equals 2. So now we just figured out what is the correct size for each one of these spaces. So according to this equation right here, each one of these spaces should be 2 feet wide. So we have 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. And the total of the length of the wall is 14. So you know you are correct. Okay? So you can see, if you set things up very logically and write down what you know, then you can solve all of these problems very easily. So let's try this next one, okay? This next one is a little story about ages. The ages of 3 sisters are consecutive integers. The sum of their ages is 45. What are their ages? So let's go through and identify the three things we need to know. The total is 45 because it says the sum of their ages is 45. So we know the total is 45. The known information that we have is it says the ages of three sisters are consecutive integers. So we just pick a variable because we don't know how old they are at all, but we do know that one sister is 1 year older and then 1 year older. So if we have a sister, we know her sister that's 1 year older would be her plus 1 year. And then we know that the next sister would be her plus 2 years. That's what consecutive means, one right after the other. So we have this one, then we have this one plus 1, then we have this one plus 2, because x really is plus 2. So you can see they're increasing by 1 as we go. That's what makes them consecutive. So we have three sisters. This is how they arrange their ages. And then the unknown information is the x. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what the x is, so then we can go back and figure out what the sisters are. Okay? So there's not really a picture that we can use. Well, I guess there is. The picture that you could use for this one is a tape diagram. So we have x, right? And then we have x plus 1. So here's our x. This is x. This is x plus 1. And then we have x plus 2, and that represents the three sisters. So this is the first sister. This is the sister that is 1 year older than her. This is the sister that is 2 years older than her. And all three of these equal 45. Okay? So that is a good model that we could use to help us. So the reason why I like using that model is it's very visual and it allows you to see. How many x's do you see right there? Well, I see 3 x's. How many ones do you see? Well, I see 3 ones. And then I know that all of those added together equals 45. And there you go. This right here is the unknown, right? Because we have the x in there. This right here is the known. And this is your total. So you just use that tool to help you. Okay? And now we have our BU chart, which is right here. What is our variable? Our variable is x. What math operation did we do first to x? If you said multiplied by 3, you are correct. After we multiplied by 3, what did we do? We added 3. So to undo that, we do the opposite and work backwards. So the opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. And then I have x left over. So first thing it tells me to do is subtract 3 from both sides. So we have this, which is a 0 pair. I'm left with 3x equals 45 minus 3 is 42. Now it says to divide each side by 3. So I'm going to divide this side by 3, divide this side by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1x. 42 divided by 3, 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 left over, which is 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 1 times x is x, so x equals 14. And we went through the whole process. So now we know that this sister is 14. Well, if this sister is 14 and you have a sister that's 1 year older than you, so what is the next sister? 15. And then 1 year older than this one would be 16. So we've now figured out the ages of the sisters. Okay? Do you see how simple it is as long as you have tape diagrams and you remember to use the known plus the unknown plus known equals total, or the known plus the unknown equals total? It doesn't matter the order as long as you can organize your thoughts. Okay? So there are 2 more problems that I would like you to work through. I'm not going to do them with you in the video because I would like you to try to do them by yourself, but then we'll talk about them in class. So we have the puppy pen. You are designing a rectangular puppy pen. The total amount of fencing that you have is 30 feet. The length is 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. What is the length and the width of the pen? So I drew a picture because that's very helpful. The total is 30 feet. The known is x plus 6 1/3 feet. The unknown is x. Okay? So I want you to use the same process we did with the other 2. If you can't remember, then go back and watch them again. And last one that I need you to do is practice makes perfect. Okay? Heather practices soccer and piano. Each day she practices piano for 2 hours. After 5 days, she practices both piano and soccer for 20 hours in total. Assuming that she practiced soccer the same amount of time each day, how many hours did she practice soccer? So this one's a little more tricky, but I think if you go through the process of figuring out what the total would be, figuring out what the known would be, figuring out what the unknown would be, come up with some kind of model to help you, you'll be successful. And again, we'll talk about it when we get to school tomorrow. All right, let's go back and revisit our goal one more time. Today, we will discuss what an equation is and how to use algebraic expressions to solve them. So that's what we've been doing. We've been creating algebraic expressions. We've also been coming up with equations. They're all right here. Algebraic means that there's a variable included, so that's what we've been doing. What model can you use to help you solve equations? Pictures, tape diagrams, anything that's a visual help to have you understand what's going on. Okay? All right, my darlings, you have 2 practice problems, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.